there is pizza for everyone in DotVVM.
Okay, this is a DotVVM virtual party, so it's virtual pizza for everyone. Sorry if you expected real pizza. This will be only virtual. Okay, so please, production, can you switch on my slide? Thank you. Awesome.
Yes.
So Blazing Pizza in DotVVM. It's called Blazing Pizza because it's basically it's a rewrite of the application called Blazing Pizza, which .NET team created for Blazor. So I took the application and I reused some parts of it, but I rewritten in .vvm, so it can demonstrate all the differences between Blazor and .vvm. If you go on GitHub on this link, maybe if you just search for .vvm Blazing Pizza, you will see the repo. We have it also on the samples page on our website, so it's also a way how to get there. And here are the instructions, but the most important part is this, differences between Razor and .vvm syntax. So if you have been using Blazor and you want to try .vvm because of, for example, of the model view model approach or something like that, you can go through this article which describes how you can use data binding, how you can use binding expressions, how you can show or hide elements in Razor. You are doing it via if statement. In .vvm, you are using the visible binding, for example. And if you want to use something like for each, it's repeater control in .vvm. So this is what you can do, what you can see there, and I think that it helps you to start with .vvm really quickly. What I particularly like is this, for example, in the Blazing Pizza sample, they want to display some part of the page. If you have something in a basket, you can configure your pizzas, and if you put it in the basket, some piece of the user interface will appear, for example, some button or something like that. And because they need to apply two classes to this element, so basically they are composing the classes like this. So they say order total, and then they need to use this expression. And if there is more than 0 pizzas, so they will add also the hidden class. And we have this nice syntax helper in .vvm, so this order total class is there forever, every single time. So this is just class equals order total, and this class dash hidden will add this hidden class only if we have at least 1 pizza. So instead of writing these complicated expressions, you can use this syntax, and it's especially nice if you have more than just 2 options, because if you have 2 or 3 classes that are dynamically added or removed, this expression would be even more complicated, because you would have to nest these expressions together. So this is one of my favorite features, and not many people know about this because it's quite hidden in the framework. So it's the homepage, so you can see the differences, and I will go directly to the demo, because let's see how the application looks like and what you can and how it's done in .vvm. So let me go to the Visual Studio first. Because it's a rewrite of a Blazor application, it actually has 2 parts. It has the client part, which is this Blazing Pizza app project, and it has the server part, which contains the API for the application. So basically, they are, because in Blazor, the application runs in the browser, so they need to have the API which would provide the data to the application. In .vvm, this is not necessary, because the .vvm app, the view models, are running on the server, so they can access the database directly. They don't need to communicate through some API. However, because it's a rewrite that should show the differences between 2 technologies, I didn't want to do some large architecture changes, so that's why I kept the API, even though it's not entirely necessary. However, in some other scenarios, you would implement the applications even in .vvm like that. If you, for example, actually already have the API, then it makes sense to connect the .vvm application to the API because you already have it. But if you are writing a new application from scratch, this is probably not the way how you would do it. Okay, so this is the API, this is the application, and there is also some shared stuff, typically the classes which are used. So for example, here is the definition of the order. So if the user is ordering, here is the information what needs to be inserted. So let's build some pizza. So I would like to basic cheese pizza, for example. Let's make it really big because I'm really hungry. So 17 inches, which is like a wheel of a car, I think. It's very nice. And let's add some toppings. For example, lobster. It's a pretty pricey, but I think I can. I deserve it. So like this, and I can put it in the order. And this is the dynamic element that appeared when you have at least one pizza in the order. There is the animation. You could see, like I will do it once again. So lobster and go. This animation is done via CSS, so it's nothing special. In .vvm, you are just using the visible property to show the element, and CSS makes it animated. So you can do this in any technology on the web. So .vvm doesn't have anything specific for animations because you can use CSS, but it's really nice, and it makes the user interface of the application really interactive, really pleasant to use. So let's add some other pizza, but this is small because it's for my colleague, and no lobsters, and just the basil on the top because 1.50 British pounds, it's not so much. Okay, so we have our order. So now we can click on the order, and the application goes to a second page. So I need to enter the delivery address, and I don't like to spend much time on it. So let's write some nonsense. I hope that they won't actually try to deliver, but it's a virtual, so it should be fine. The virtual courier will probably be able to reach this virtual address, I hope. So that's it. And the order is placed, and the pizza is out for delivery. Yeah. So let's see how the application is implemented. So let's go back to the first screen. You can see there is some menu on the top, some options, and there is this list of pizzas and this sidebar. So let's see what we have here. So the first page is called Get Pizza, and basically it looks like this. So there is some main content. I will collapse this section. So this is the main content, which is the list of pizzas, and there is the sidebar, and there is a configure pizza dialog, which is my own control, which represents the pop-up window where I configure the pizza. So it has basically three parts. But where is the menu? Because the menu is shared for all pages, it wouldn't be really productive to repeat it on all the pages. So what we have here is this is a thing called master page. And basically, it's a template for the entire application. And in the master page, I will specify the menu. So this is the menu, this top bar, that's the menu. And then I'm using this content placeholder, which says, okay, the content of the actual page will go here. Yeah? So this is how you can share some common parts of the application in multiple pages. Yeah? So this master page line will just embed this page into the master page. And if I look back to the menu, you can see that based on which page I am, the sum item in the menu is highlighted. So now the Get Pizza is highlighted. Now my orders is highlighted. Yeah, you can see also this thing. Moves based on which page I am, but the master page is same for both pages. So I need to decide in the master page which part of the menu should be highlighted. So that's done like this. I have this class called navtab. This class is there also always, every single time. And this class active will be there only if the route name equals getPizza. Yeah. So you can use expressions in these data bindings, not only just one ViewModel property, but it can be any C# expression. And .vvm will evaluate this expression, and it will apply the class or not, based on if this expression is true or false. Yeah. So that's how it's done. And here you can use the OR operator, because this menu item is shared for 2 pages. So even if it's my orders or order details, it will be active in this case. Yeah. So this is the menu. Let's get back to the getPizza. And if you want to display a collection of any kind of elements like this pizza specials, you can use the repeater control. A repeater control works like this. You will just give it a collection in the ViewModel. So if I go to the specials, you can see it's a list of some pizza special objects. And .vvm will render the contents of the repeater for each item in this collection. So now in the ViewModel, you can just look in the database and fill this collection with data. And in the markup, in the HTML file, you will just say, OK, repeater for the specials. And for every special, we will place this in the page. And of course, you can use the data binding. So you can substitute the name of the pizza special and the description and the price. Yeah, these are properties of the pizza special object. And of course, every pizza has different image. So I'm also composing this, this image like this. And if you click on any kind of element in .vvm, it can get the events.click event. So if I want to click on the pizza, I will run this function in the ViewModel. So that's it. The sidebar works very similar. It's hidden. Yeah, you can see this visible. So this sidebar will be hidden if there is no pizza, because it would distract the user. The user interface wouldn't look very nice. So let's hide it if it's not needed. And here there is iterates, also the repeater control. It iterates through the list of pizzas, and it will render the pizzas I have already done in the basket. So once I do this, you can see this appeared, because now there is at least one pizza in the order, and this item will be there for every pizza. So if I add 3, you can see the repeater responds to that, and it will render more of these elements. Okay. And if there are no pizzas, so this element, this empty cart, will be visible if the pizzas count is 0. So if I remove everything here, you can see there is this text, choose a pizza to get started. Yeah, because this element became visible once the order is empty. Yeah, and this is the same, like nothing really special here. It's very similar. So let's look at the configure pizza dialog. This is one of the conventions that is recommended in .vvm, is that if you have a model dialog in the page, you should create a control for it, and you should create a separate ViewModel for it. Yeah, so basically what I have done, I have created a ViewModel for the configure pizza dialog. So it's called configure pizza dialog ViewModel, and it's represented as a property in this main ViewModel. So you can basically nest the ViewModels inside each others. And it's very nice, because if I want to display the dialog, I just can call configuring pizza dialog.show, and I will pass some information to the dialog, so it will know for which pizza I have selected, basically. Yeah, and that's it. And the configure pizza dialog, if you look, it's normal HTML, normal piece of HTML, and I can get some information from the parent page. And you can see there is, I'm writing the special name, special description, and I ask the user to choose the size. This is a little trick, because the text box control is very universal in .vvm. It can render any kind of input element. So if I say text box type equals range, it will not render a text box control, but it will render this range picker. Yeah, it's a little hack, I would say, but it works, and I can reuse or maybe abuse text box for doing this. And you can specify the minimum and maximum value, and you want to step by one. And we basically want to bind the value, the selected value, to the size property in the view model, and that's it. And you can add toppings on the pizza. So I'm using the combo box, which will get the list of all available toppings, and I can select items in that. And I'm rendering the selected toppings using the repeater. So I can add the blazing hot peppers, I can add lobster again, and I can add Canadian bacon, for example. And this is just the repeater control. Yeah. So that's the dialog. And if I look in the view model, it's pretty simple. So it has the show method, which will show the dialog, and it can accept parameters. So the main page will pass this pizza special object here, and I can get all the information I will really need. And I can add or remove toppings. It's very easy. And I can confirm. When I confirm the order, I will call an event called onConfigured, because this dialog needs to signal the main view model that, okay, the user selected something, and the main page needs to be refreshed, so the item needs to appear in the sidebar and things like that. So I have declared an event. When I have the pizza configured, I will call this event. And the getPizza view model, it subscribes to this event. So if the pizza is configured, I will call a method addPizza, and it will give the pizza to the sidebar. Yeah, so this is how the dialog and the page can communicate with each other, and everything is written in the C# code. So you have IntelliSense, so you have debugging, you have you cannot make a typo here because compiler would tell you immediately. So it's very nice, and that's why I really like this this approach. And to show and hide the dialog, there is also one trick. If you set the data context to any element to null, this element will be hidden. So that means that by just setting null or some other object into some view model property, you can make the dialog appear or disappear. So that's what we are doing here. If I click on some topping, you will see that I'm calling configuring pizza dialog show, and this will set the configuring pizza to some object. And if I cancel this window, it will set the configuring pizza to null. Yeah, so because DotVVM will remove all the elements that have null data context, you can use this to your advantage by just in order to show or hide the pieces of the UI in the page. Yeah. So that's how it's done, and you can review also the other pages, but I have shown most of the concepts we have here right now. So that's it. If you have any questions, just of course let me know in the comments, and I will show more, or I will explain how these things actually work. But most of the things are pretty straightforward. And as I said, this application, it's not using database. It communicates with this other project which provides the API. So on many places in the view model, I'm just calling HTTP client and calling this kind of API. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to answer.
Let me just tell you like a brief thing about India. So in India, like you can order pizza and you can get in like less than 30 minutes. I'm talking everybody. So looking at your session and like basically building like a pizza website with DotVVM, I think we can also start promoting, like we can build like a pizza website in like 30 minutes or less.
Yeah. It's faster to build the website for the pizza than to get the actual delivery.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can use that. Yep.
Yeah. If anyone have any questions, yeah, feel free to like post it in the comment section or ask in our DotVVM channel in WhatsApp or anywhere else. Just feel free to like ping us. And Thomas, like we have few more questions for you. Right now, like DotVVM team is like divided into two parts. Basically, like a developer relations team and then the actual team that is contributing to directly code to the framework. So, do you have like a future plan for like building like a bigger team for DotVVM?
Yeah, it always depends on many factors. It's even more complicated because even the internal team which develops DotVVM, it's actually multiple teams, because there is the team which is responsible for just the framework itself. Then there are teams that are responsible for our commercial products like DotVVM Business Pack and Bootstrap for DotVVM. There is one team that is responsible for the Visual Studio extension. Some people between these teams are shared, but some people are working on just one of the things. So actually this is more teams, and I would say it's a little messy because the structure is not very, very clear. Of course, I would like all the teams, even the developer relations and the core developer teams to grow. But of course, it's also about some financial constraints we have, because of course, DotVVM is an open source project. We have invested a lot of money in it, and we are of course getting the investments back through the sales of licenses for the commercial products, which save even more time than the framework itself. But of course, we are limited in what we can afford through the money we get from the licenses. So it's very, sometimes it's not easy. And of course, I would like to develop more and more, but it has to correspond to the sales of the products. And we are happy that we are part of the .NET Foundation, which helps us with marketing, but they don't give funding to open source projects, because there is a lot of projects and it would be very difficult to make it fair. That's not the purpose of the .NET Foundation. So of course we have to make the business part of the framework to be working in order to be able to grow. But it's going pretty well. We have quite a lot of customers who every year buy new licenses, and they gave us feedback, and they are very happy with DotVVM. And because DotVVM can also be used for modernizing old websites and old web applications, it's a big market for DotVVM that will be here for maybe 10 years or more, because I have seen a lot of very large ASP.NET Web Forms applications. These applications were being written for 20 years, and they are still in use. The customers still need new features, and it's practically impossible to just start building these applications from scratch. And DotVVM can continuously help with modernization of these applications. So this is where I see a big market opportunity for DotVVM. And of course, if we have enough customers like this, it will help us to grow and to improve the framework, make it faster, make it having more features and things like that.
Definitely, that's a great insight about DotVVM. Okay, so we will now be moving to personal questions regarding this campus ambassadors.
I have one question. In this path, what is the future about DotVVM according to .NET 6 and Visual Studio 2022?
Oh, okay. I will be talking about this in 2 or 3 weeks after .NET Conf, because in .NET Conf they will announce the full version of .NET 6, and actually we have a few ideas of what we would like to have in .VVM. One of the biggest features in .NET 6 is the hot reload functionality, which allows you that you change the code and you don't need to rebuild the project and wait a few seconds until it's restarted, because the code changes will be applied to the running process. So you will see the changes immediately. So we will have it in .VVM 2. We already have it implemented. Right now it's waiting to be merged in the framework. So you will be able to use it. And it works very nice. You can just change anything in the .HTML file, and once you save the file, it will be refreshed. The page will be refreshed automatically, and even the state of the view model will be persisted. So if you fill some form and then you want to tweak the page, it will still work. So it's very nice. And also they have added several new features in .NET 6 that we would like to use. Unfortunately, that means that we will have to maybe to split the framework in 2 versions. The .NET 6 version will have more features than the legacy version, or I don't know how to call it. But basically, for example, in .NET 6 there are new data types which are called date only and time only. Until now, there was only date time, but there was no type that could represent just the date or just the time. So this is very nice and interesting, and I would like to have it in .VVM. But if we put it in the framework, that would mean that we would not be able to support the previous versions than .NET 6, and it's a problem because we still want to support the old .NET framework, because of the customers who have the old web forms applications. So we will probably have multi-targeting. So if you install .vvm package into .NET 6, you will get more features than if you install the same NuGet package in some older version of .NET.
Oh, so, thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Few more questions, but regarding this, basically motivating students. So what does your day look like, Thomas? Like when do you start? Like when do you start drinking coffee, and then when do you start writing actual code, as in like during the day?
Okay, nice question. Well, I don't have much time for writing code actually, because when I start, I wake up, I cannot see anything. I just get somehow to the coffee machine and then have a coffee, and then that's the booting procedure of me every morning. So then, of course, I get breakfast, I go to the work. It's very easy for me because my apartment is just next to the office. I'm just across the street. I have to watch carefully because there are trams going in both directions. So I have to look carefully, but it's just 2 minutes before I get to the office. So it's very, very convenient. And then I have a lot of meetings, a lot of calls, a lot of emails to go. Then I have at 5 p.m. every day, I have some time to go to the .vvm GitHub and see what's new there, if there are some new issues and things like that. And then in the evening or on the weekends, I open Visual Studio and have some time for coding. So during the normal day, because I'm also running the company, it's very hard to have some time for writing code. But of course, I'm reading a lot of articles because I still want to stay in touch with .NET. I want to know what new features they are adding. So something like this. But most of the time, my main developer environment is not Visual Studio, it's Outlook and Teams.
Yeah. It is like for most of them, basically like emails and then Slack channel. Definitely. Thomas, like one like a big question for you. Like How would you like to motivate young developers who are just getting started? Like, what's your advice for especially our ambassadors, like who are just getting started with .vvm and also with the coding? So, like, what's your advice for them?
Well, how to motivate? I think that I made the biggest progress when I started doing things I couldn't do at the time. Because when I went to my first job, like I was studying and I want to get some money to be able to spend more or something like that. So I was going to, it was on the high school and last year of high school. So I just wrote an email or called to some company in my hometown, and I told them I don't know many things, but I want to learn and I want to get better. So if you would have any kind of work that I could do, I would be happy. And they had some work, so they put me on the project. It was a large project. I didn't understand a thing at the beginning, but after a few days, I was just trying, and suddenly I started doing things, and it motivated me to learn. And if I would just do something I already can do, it wouldn't help me much. So I think the best motivation for young people is, even if you cannot do it, that's the best reason for starting, because that will allow you to learn it. And today there is a lot of learning resources, not only to .vvm, also for the .NET. It's amazing, the documentation for it. It's nice. There is a lot of videos, a lot of tutorials. So I think that if you like programming, or if you like creating things, because programming is a lot about creativity and innovation. So if you like these things, just go ahead and don't be sad that, okay, I'm stupid, I cannot do this. Because everyone, even the most expert developers, sometimes don't know how to do things. How does it work? They have to Google even more than the beginners, because the more advanced you are in programming, the more difficult problems you have to solve, which requires more Googling. So don't be sad that you need to Google for things that you don't know something. It happens all the time, and the programming is only about learning. So don't worry if you don't know something. It's about learning.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on the most of the part. And also, like, when not on your computer, so like, what do you do for fun?
Well, riding motorbike. The Czech Republic is not very nice country for motorbikes, because we don't have very high mountains. So I go to Austria or to Italy. So basically it looks like that I'm driving there all day, because it's like 7-8 hours of driving to get to some nicer parts of the Alps. So I'm going there, then I'm riding there, then it starts raining, so I'm wet, going all the day in the rain. Then every time I return to home, which is 8 hours of driving, it's raining all the time, so it's nice. And then I get home, I'm wet and tired, but I'm the happiest in the world.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Thank you for answering all those questions very patiently.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here at such amazing event.
Thank you for sharing this advice. A little more about your life.
Yeah.
Because this is interesting.
With us here, like working with you, like we get so much curiosity, like what's our main basically lead is doing. So these are like a curiosity questions, I think, from inside of. Yeah.
Yeah. In this case, there are some comments. Let me show you. Here is Hector. Greetings from Mexico. Excellent event. Hey.
Great.
Noya says hello.
Hello, Noya.
Carly Chavez, amazing. And also says thank you, amazing session. And symbol of a smile. There are one more. Esirei says, whoa, I always thought it was a backend framework.
It's both. It's backend and front end in one, and you don't need to deal with the communication or the bridge between the front end and back end because .vvm does it for you. So the view models are on the server, and but you get the data in the browser, and you don't need to do anything special, just the data binding.
HTML and C#.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jenny also says, que genial, that is great, awesome. Thank you.
You're also learning Spanish a little bit here. Okay, thank you so much for all the comments, and we are very happy to see all the comments.